Hello everyone and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going to be reviewing the solo game Friday. Now in this game you're going to be helping Robinson learn the survival skills he needs not only to survive the island but to eventually be able to defeat a couple pirates and escape the island. And this is a deck building game where you start out with a very weak deck and you're going to be slowly thinning that deck out and adding cards to that deck by defeating various hazards. Now I'm not going to go through a lot of the gameplay itself. I'm going to make another video where I'm going to give a how to play as well as a playthrough and some tips and tricks on how to be able to win this game. And you can check that out afterwards for a little bit more details. Let's go ahead and get into the review itself. So first of all, it's a very easy game to learn. You just flip over a couple of cards, you choose one to fight, you try to get more power than it costs in the amount of cards that it allows you to do. Let's take an example right here. You're going to have this right here, and if you are in green still, you're going to need to score a 1. If you are in yellow, you'll need to score 3, and for red, 6. And then you have 2 chances to be able to do that. And then if you don't make it in those 2 chances, then you can also spend one of your life to be able to draw an extra card, and you can keep on doing that as long as you want to, but realize you only have a certain amount of life tokens, and so you want to be careful how much you spend those. And if you win, you'll be able to add this card to your deck. If you lose, you'll discard it, and you will lose the amount of health tokens that is the difference between having beaten it and what you actually currently had. And so you're going to, in order to do that, you're going to be flipping cards from your deck, and you are going to try to get enough points to be able to defeat it. This one's only worth 0, so it's not really going to help you out much. Like I said, you start out very weak. You've got a lot of 0-point cards. You have a good number of -1 cards and a few 1- and 2-point cards. And so you're going to start out kind of weak, and you're going to hopefully be able to defeat a few in your first run through your deck and be able to add some of these cards. And when you aren't able to defeat it, then you are going to, like I said, spend those health tokens, but all is not lost there, because as you spend those health tokens, you're actually able to thin out your deck by getting rid of 1 card per every health token you spend, or it takes 2 health tokens in order to get rid of one of the aging cards, which are cards that are especially bad for you. And so when you run through your deck of cards, you're going to be adding an aging card to your deck, and you're going to shuffle that back. When the event deck runs out, you shuffle the discard and you increase to a new threat level. And after going through all 3 threat levels, you then face off against those 2 random pirate ships to see if you can win. Now their abilities, you do have to learn what they do. Most are fairly self-explanatory, but there is a handy glossary in the instructions of abilities where they are defined. And so you can quickly look those up to get right back on to playing the game. So it's very easy. You're not doing a whole lot, not a whole lot to learn. And let's move on to the gameplay itself. The gameplay is simple yet puzzly. It's an interesting deck building system where you are getting cards by defeating them. And you thin your deck by losing against cards and spending your health tokens to get rid of the bad and weak cards. It's pretty satisfying for the time investment. It's got a quick setup time and it plays in about 30 minutes. And so there's not a whole lot there as far as how long it takes you to play. I won't say it's one of the more interesting solo games out there, but for the time investment, it does provide a satisfying puzzle to solve. And especially, I would say this would be good for if you are not really been a fan of solo gaming so far. You're trying to kind of introduce yourself to this concept of solo gaming, because of the fact that a lot of times people don't do the solo gaming route because they don't want to spend all that time setting up a game just to play by themselves. Well, this one doesn't have a huge setup. You're putting out 3 different boards, you're separating some cards, shuffling them up, and you are ready to go. Not a lot of difficulty at all in setting up. You can set it up in about a minute. And so, and then a little bit more if you're trying to shuffle those cards. And so very quick to set up, and so the investment there isn't a whole lot, and it's good for what it does. Now it's very challenging at first until you begin to learn the system a bit, and then you can adjust the difficulty up a bit to continue to find a challenge. There are 4 levels of difficulty, and so you start out, and it's going to feel really difficult when you first start out playing in level 1, but once you start to learn the system, that's going to get pretty simple for you, so you go up to, I'd even suggest jumping over level 2 right to level 3 even, because level 2 doesn't really ramp things up much. Not much difference between level 2 and level 3 in the difficulty, but then level 4 gets extremely difficult because you are getting rid of 2 health, and so it really kind of makes it more complicated to win. If you'd like to know a bit more about how to win, click on my How to Play with Tips and Tricks to Win the Game video at the end of this video. Okay, let's talk about theme next. Theme comes through very well in the card play. You really feel the struggle to survive as you face off these various challenges. There's this feeling of your character getting more adept as he starts out not really knowing what to do, how to survive, and so he's very weak and very easily defeated by all these different challenges that come up. But then as his deck gets stronger, it's like he's learning more of how to survive, and you're able to overcome more difficult challenges. And so that theme really comes through that building up of your deck. Aging cards then come along to simulate that time is passing and provides additional challenges as your character ages. He gets older and is less able to do some of the things. And so you've got these cards coming in that's going to make it a little bit more of a challenge at times. And so that theme really comes through in the card play. Now, as far as the art and the components go, it's very meh. It's a deck of cards. It's 22 wooden health tokens, and it's a few different little boards like these. Not a whole lot involved in the components themselves. The art is not something that's really going to draw you into the game, probably. It's okay. It's not exactly... let's go ahead and get some of these cards here and kind of give you an idea here. And then these flip over to become the ones that you use for your own, when you're drawing cards from your deck. And so you got your challenge on one side, and then when it goes into your deck, it becomes flipped over, and you use that side. The art, like I said, it's not going to draw you in, but this isn't a game that's really as focused on the art and the components, really focused on that gameplay, and a very simple gameplay that is engaging. Now let's talk about the replayability next. It's great for a while as you are learning the game, you're learning the system, getting better at it. But once you learn how to win, you're not going to often lose on level 3. Level 3 is going to be one of those that even there you are winning. Now I do not find the way level 4 makes things harder too satisfying either, because you're basically just taking level 3 and you are lessening your health by 2. And which is also going to lessen your score if you're trying to keep score at the end, because you get score for each of those health tokens you get left over. And eventually the game, no matter what level you're playing it on, begins to feel a bit samey. And so the replayability kind of dies off after a while. You've seen all there is to see. You've figured out the system, and it's basically coming down to how the cards play out, whether you're able to overcome the system or not, depending on how they come out. And so eventually you're going to probably move on from this game. It's not going to be one that's going to give you something unique every time. You're going to pretty much know what to expect. Final thoughts. I had originally rated this game a 7.5 out of 10, but I've cooled on it as I've played it a bit more, because it really does start to feel samey once you get the hang of it and you've played it a good bit. So I'm lowering my rating to a 7 out of 10. It is a good game. You've got an interesting kind of system there for your deck building, but it's eventually going to suffer in that replayability. And so I give it that 7 out of 10. It's great for the price. It's great for an introduction to solo gameplay, because there's not that big, huge setup involved. You can just kind of jump right on in and play a game in about 30 minutes. And so I highly recommend that. I also recommend it just to general those who enjoy playing solo games. You're going to get a decent amount of gameplay for the price before it gets kind of tired and old hat. But you'll be able to, like I said, get a decent amount of play until that happens. And so I do recommend this game for the price point, and for the time investment is well worth it. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see the playthrough and some tips and tricks on how to win, go ahead and click on this video right here. And as always, I will catch you in the next video.